I'll post it. Guess who's talking in my head still every second of the fucking day? By the way, they just moved my face. They're actually like, my face changes every time I see it. Oh, and they're, of course, making me burp, vomit, because I'm eating. They're terrorists talking in my head. Do you understand me? I want them sentenced to fucking death. If you only knew what they were doing every time I try to eat. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists. I want them sentenced to fucking death. They're talking in my head. Better than. They make me throw up while I'm eating. This is trauma. They've been talking in Arabic. He's playing with my face. They stretched my forehead. They made my hair fall out. I don't know if you can see it. There it is. They're Egyptian American Muslim women terrorists committing some serious war crimes and trafficking innocent civilians and trying to manipulate the narrative to say that it is their attacks are due to the war to say these playing with my face to say that them doing whatever they're doing, holding hostages like me hostage, is due to the fact that there's a war. There are several wars in the Middle East, and the and what's so funny is that they were using these war weapons that they're using on me so that they could traffic innocent civilians to strap bombs to their back and to attack Christian churches and put them basically boil them down to nothing but a puppet or a robot. And while the terrorists talking in my head started this whole their grandparents and their affiliates, and I mean, I don't know how far, I don't know, it's for sure their parents, for sure their grandparents. I don't know after that. But anyways, nonetheless, so the whole reason why Christians were permitted to come into this country was because of the persecution of Christians in the Middle East by terrorist groups that were just like me. Excuse me, they're making me throw up. And they're playing with, like, they're just messing with my face. They want me looking crazy. But they're terrorists. So they were trafficking these terrorist groups in the Middle East and slaughtering Christians. So the United States, of course, took an interest into protecting the rights of the Christians, because at that time it was a Christian country. And to think these terrorists that are talking in my head, okay, whose families started the persecutions, and then it wasn't just persecutions against Christians because they wanted to enter into the United States, the terrorists, to then Sorry, I'm in my car and I like to just wait to make sure my daughter doesn't need anything else before I leave. So to start the wars, and they wanted permissions to come into the United States or to be granted asylum, is what one of the terrorists just said. So then they started persecuting, or not persecuting, but started attacking Muslims and made it this whole ordeal, like they're trying to take over territories of the Middle East. And it was like this whole bullshit. It's all this bullshit, right? It's bullshit. And then entering into this country, behind these telepathy technologies came their heirs, their grandkids, and their kids, and now their kids. And they've all been using this war weapon to traffic people, and it moves people in mass numbers. Like, this is in the masses. So they're trying to say, the United States is attacking parts of the Middle East, but it's not. It's defending itself from the attacks by the terrorists that are actually hiding among us in our country, in the United States of America, who they have had to work night and day to finally corner and sentence to death for all of the horrendous and wars and crimes and genocide. He's making me spit, and he's spitting in my head. They're making spitting sounds, and they're playing with my face, and they're like, haha, you stupid ugly bitch, and this and this and that. And now their daughters want to sit and talking in my head like free Palestine. But those fucking whorebags didn't care when they were there talking in my fucking head. There's a Palestinian boy who got stabbed 26 fucking times. Where were the fucking whores then? These bitches can sit there and find out what anyone is thinking at any point in time. And not one of them was present to stop that. They're talking in my head. They're talking in my head. They can see my brain activity. They know what I'm thinking. They know what I'm doing. They know how I feel. They see what I see, and they hear what I hear, and they know what's going on around me, and they know how much money's in my account, and they know every aspect of my life, down to my body's chemistry. And they're screaming free Palestine like a bunch of psycho bitches in my fucking head, and at the same time talking in my fucking head, reading my thoughts. But they couldn't stop Mark and Jacob Iskander from getting hit by Rebecca Grossman? Doesn't that sound at all suspicious? I know that, it's not like the people who know don't know. It's just a matter of proving the facts. And proving the facts, dude. Imagine having to sit and watch these bitches commit crimes, and you can't stop them because around the globe they're using this type of technology as their own national security. And if they've invested in this country, then they're less likely to. And then on top of it, it's like, this is this hidden gem. Everybody put their money into this country. Okay, the most gorgeous country in the world. Now you have all these sharks coming in this country, like, okay, let's fork up all the money from all the countries and rule over everyone else. All the nations are thinking that way. After the United States did nothing but build for all of these entities so that they can also prosper and give back to their people, but instead they're depriving them. And here come the terrorists. Like, I mean, not to say that, and I don't even know, like, because honestly, it's very hard to say that wait, he's playing with my head. I'm sorry. So what I was saying is they're coming into this country, and this country is a gem, and it's built on capitalistic ideologies. So it's like they're protecting their assets. They want to make sure people are playing fair and square, right? Plus, and so granted, they're granted permissions to use the telepathy technology. And in which case, sorry, I'm trying to get to my point. They're playing with my head because he doesn't want me making it clear. What I was saying, so them all being behind the telepathy technology, every nation having these, and then they have their assignees or people, whoever, we'll just call them, I'm making up titles or whatever, but just for the sake of painting a clear image, excuse me, it's making me throw up, to watch, basically, to make sure no one's stealing, no one's manipulating, no one's playing, because once one country, okay, enters this country with these telepathy technologies, all of them have to do the same. And or if one country is using it and their country's refugees enter into the United States, anyone who enters into the United States boundaries it's in their best interest, because everybody wants to protect their assets and they want to make sure everyone's playing fair and square. However, these entities are coming in with the money. So, if they capitalize, great. If they don't, it's not a complete loss. They're going to leave with what they came with. But the problem is, and granted, they have entities that are producing and like profits that that are making more than, it's just like this ongoing engine of them making money. They're not suffering, is what I'm trying to say. But the terrorists talking in my head sound like someone got a tip and then took advantage of an opportunity when they realized the legalities to permitting civilians to using the technology, people that did not have the assets to provide or the financial backing. and just decided to go haywire, and instead was like, okay, screw it. Like, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna rob everything walking, and that, so be it. And if you don't like it, tough titty, basically. And anyway, so I'm venturing off. I've been here for 20 minutes, 9 o'clock. So back to what I was saying. So anyways, all these nations are using the telepathy technologies, and the terrorists basically, like, it's like they overlap with, because they can all see who's on the map and what's going on, right? I don't know if they can actually tell if in fact someone's behavior is manipulated, because, like, imagine like you're a little robot, right? We're little robots, and from a high rise there are the controllers of the robots, and they send signals to the robots that they want to perform. So it's like, okay, I want Renee to perform, then I want Leah to perform, then I want Nora, okay, and then this and the, and they have this little, like, cycle going on, this little whatever this like a I don't know how to explain it. Just like an assembly line, okay, and they have us all just moving around. So every time someone sends me a signal, right? But we're human beings, so we're not robots. Like, we're not actually turned on by electrical signals. They're just reading the signals. So, I mean, they can manipulate them and they can read them, but we're not operating on a signal per se. We are an actual signal. Like, we are our own rhythm. So it seems as though, like, the little, like, they can see from wherever they're at every time someone's signal is being used. So mine will light up and it'll show Renee, someone is checking out Renee, right? But if I were to hit someone with a car, right, they're not going to know if I did it or the terrorist. That's the part where I think the discrepancies lie. And and it sounds as though, like, a lot of these entities, that was the initial name of the game. Where was I going with this? I have no idea. Here I go, venturing off again. But they may have pulled out from using the technologies just so that they can isolate who is responsible for all these crimes being committed. Because, like I said, it seems as though these terrorists can see whose lights were, that's what it was, whose lights, like, who's lighting up, and it's almost like they want to, for example, the investors are putting money into this new, whatever, this new, to the energy efficiency, what are they called? Like going green energy or whatever, right? And they put money into it. And it seems as though the terrorists will go and find a way to manipulate some kind of like scheme using people as puppets to make it seem as though the ones that are watching are laundering money or stealing money. And being that nobody could prove that they didn't do it, whatever. I mean, I can think about this all day, and I know I can come to a logical conclusion. It's just a matter of eliminating variables. Just, you sit here and over 8 years or 7 years now, and you hear them day in and day out, and you just, of course, it builds curiosity, and so you start looking, and you're like, oh wow. You know, it lines up with what these psychopaths are saying, and then they say more, and you're like, you know, okay, and they start to fill you in, and I mean, the reasons they fill you in are to get you so hooked on the fact that they're real people, that you're so offended when someone says, "Hey, you sound schizophrenic." And so that you can argue it, and it just like further penetrates into the victim's brain that to stay away from medical attention. It's just a form of manipulation. So that was the ordeal. That was the entire ordeal behind them explaining everything that happened thus far and how this all came about. I'm explaining what I've heard in my head, so I don't. It's in my head. I hear terrorists. They keep saying they're Egyptian American Muslims. They talk to me in Arabic. It is 100% fact that they're Muslim, and that is without a doubt, because, and I'll tell you why, because on their birth certificates it says Muslim. Why is it important? Because they need a blanket. Sorry, they're making me throw up. They're disgusting people, swear to God. I promise I need to stop swearing. But what was I saying here? They're playing with my head. I was saying if they I was saying I can do this all day. I can eliminate variables, and if I eliminate enough variables and I listen to them day in and day out. And anyways, nonetheless, their arrogance and their weird psychotic like behavior, just the combination of all of it is to their demise for damn sure. I don't have shit to lose. They have done things to me. They made me fall, almost cracked my head open. I once I can't remember what happened because I had a slight concussion, but I fell. I was alone And there was a fork that was in my arm, like literally was in my arm. And funny story though, my friend Stacy said that luckily I guess weird stuff happens to people, and I'm assuming the Grim Reaper was in her life because she felt like someone snatched her and she hit her head so hard she was internally bleeding. But by the grace of God, it was like he healed her. It was like a miracle. So it was very similar to that. I had a fork in my arm, and it was sticking out, and I remember the trauma. Like I remember it vividly, and crying and like pulling it out. And anyways, I keep thinking like I was in a car accident back in, it was like right before 9/11, where I hit my head so hard that I had a concussion. And then it was that fork incident. And then I was stalked on several occasions. And then the terrorists talking in my head, when they started talking, I was leaving a friend's house and I ended up slipping. And I ended up hitting my head so freaking hard, it dented the back of my head. And it was swollen for weeks. And I remember my dad saying, lucky for you, it's not any place where I'm too concerned. But, still like, it, and it was a bad fall. And I remember not going to the hospital. I mean, I didn't even think to go to the hospital. Like, why would anybody? And people saw me, nobody took me to the hospital? So, like I keep saying, I've been going off as usual. Yeah, it's just like one incident after the other, and it's always when I'm trying to get my life together, or when I meet someone perfect for me. And these terrorists will sabotage every relationship, every opportunity. They will tie me up with mindless, tedious tasks to keep me from learning, to keep me from growing, to keep me from whatever. And anyways, I was going off about, what was I going off about? Because now I'm definitely venturing off. Yeah, I was saying like 7 years. Oh yeah, the rundown, and basically it was to their demise. And and basically I have nothing to lose by being on. They're in my head. What am I going to run from? And they're there every second of the day. They're talking in my head every second of the fucking day. So it's like, where do you run? Now I have to find ways to just build that strength, have that thick skin, when things are really affecting me and hurting me, and just kind of like numb those feelings down for a moment and get into the survival mode and really dial in on what I need to do to protect my family and protect myself, and to make sure that justice is served and these terrorists get sentenced to death, and it all comes to the surface. And so yeah, like I said, it's like 8 years, and it's like they start saying things, and I started, you just take a look at the news and you're like, what, they're not lying. And then you hear these subliminal messages because, and then, oh my gosh, there's so much to freaking say. I don't even know. If I put this in ChatGPT, it would probably overload. And I've tried. And then it keeps saying, if you feel like you need medical attention, so I'm like, God, you too? I can't even tell you. But, which is fine. I'm seeking medical attention, so that's neither here or there. But they're still playing with my head. I'm going to venture off like all over the place. Do your best to just take notes. Just take notes like you're brainstorming. Like we're brainstorming together. It doesn't have to make sense. Eventually, your mind will piece it together just like mine did. It took a while. But, so I was saying like 8 years, and I was like, oh, they're actually not lying. They're being honest, and there are subliminal messages. Oh, and there we go. And I was thinking, okay, there are people that are governing over the records that are produced by these telepathy technologies that know these terrorists are committing crimes and crying their eyes out to take the to take hold of the technologies, because and I'm thinking, because it comes to me as I'm like throughout the days, and then it's like when I'm ready to go discuss it, or I do make a video, now I have to go back in my log, and try and bring it all together and make it make sense. So all these entities, right, are feeling insecure. They don't want to give up the weapons. They don't want to work with each other because everybody is worried about, their country country being depleted and not having a nation to, not having their defense. And to think, there are these really like angelic people that sit there and have done nothing but like nothing other than focus on, okay, he's playing with my head, focus on how to expose these terrorists and keep everyone comfortable and not deprive or make anyone feel so. Here, these beautiful angelic people that came down, and I'm Beyonce, man, sweetheart, love of my life, I love you, to come down and work their literal asses off, okay, till the day they die, to take all the money, to collect as much money as possible so that they can show the nations like there's no way in hell we're going to let anybody steal your assets, basically. Just, and to God, what was I going to say? And to say, here we are, and the part that's missing is the reason why they have these technologies is to make sure that they don't steal. Plus, they're trading with these terrorists. The terrorists talking in my head are the ones that are actually, they're on the back end of it all. Making these trade negotiations. And here come these angelic beings, right? Saying, no, absolutely not, putting their foot down, sorry. And basically collecting the money and refraining and finding ways to basically choke the terrorists in a very choke these terrorists in a he's playing with my head. Anyways, you understand what I'm saying. To choke them out, to basically, just to expose them and to collect the money, make sure that they know, hey, you don't have to make negotiations with them. We'll just, and sitting there and basically sitting on the money, like, please, 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 work with us to sentence them to death, and crying and working and investing, and it's just just to make sure that we end up being safe because of these terrorists talking in my head. And making sure that we no longer have to make trade negotiations with the fucking terrorist whorebags talking in my fucking head. And forcing them to use the money that they stole from their countries, our countries, my country, and putting it back into the system. So to either our country, Egypt, or back into the United States, forcing them to have no choice but to utilize that money, and then collecting it, like literally waiting for them to place their bet on anything, and then swiping like they're swiping a credit card, just to make sure these terrorists know nobody in this country is going to let them get the fuck away with the murders they've committed. This is genocide. This is beyond. This is genocide. What do you call wars and wiping out families, tribes of people across the globe. So anyways, yeah, it's just the use. I'm so sorry. I'm so everywhere. And he was playing with my head, and he did it today all day while I was reading and trying to figure things out. And he was like, "Oh, you still didn't get shit done. And look at you. You're just fucking making videos like a dumb bitch and blah, blah, blah." Honest to God, far from it. I'm being abused. I'm actually, they're murdering me. They're talking in my head. This is murder. They've shaved years off my life. They've aged me. My skin doesn't look the same. That's an organ. They injured an organ. They made my nose bigger, stretched my forehead. They made my hair fall out. They stopped the circulation in my hands. Look at my hand is swollen, and I can take this off. I'll show you. So they use this as an excuse, the rubber bands. The reason the rubber bands look so tight is because they're making my hands swell. So naturally, it's going to leave the mark around it, and then you can manipulate and say, well, it could have been either or. Right? It was either already swollen and the band just made it obvious, or it was the band and that's why my hand is swollen. So, but it's definitely them. I've 8 years, and in like a course of a year, I've aged like 5 or 7 years. I love this country. I love the people in this country, the people that have governed over this country. I love the entertainment industry. I love Hollywood. And all of these big names and all of these, and the scientists and the teachers and these like big heads oh my gosh, that loved this country so much and loved seeing us come together rather than having this cultural divide, just like Kendrick said. And found beauty and love and integrating and works so freaking hard to save everyone. I love this country. I love this country. I can't even begin to tell you how blessed I actually feel, regardless of the facts. If we were still in the Middle East, there's no way any of us would have found out. There's no way they would have been found out. We would have been dragged around like trash. They would have used our used all of our intellectual ideas, took credit for them, framed us, murdered us, if they weren't intelligent enough to find things out or discover things on their own. So I have to say, oh my goodness, thank you, God, for everyone. And anyways, I gotta go. It's 45 minutes. I'm sitting in the car. Of course, my daughter's not coming now. I just didn't want to drive and make a video. Have a great night.